I've been for many years Secretary General of the European People's Party. I'm a traditional politician that my traditional politics has lost attraction. I'm not blaming people who are voting now for extreme right or extreme left. I don't blame them. What we have to do is to work to regain their trust.
What is the European role with Israel?
Right now the problem is that we don't have any role at all. I do defend the right of Israel for existence, but also with a solution and respect for the Palestinian people.
So a two-state solution.
Two-state solutions has always been, and I have always defended. There is another case that worries me a lot, is the question of Africa. The Europeans, let's face it, our colonizational process were not good.
Good way to put it. Our colonization was not.
The Europeans, we feel ourselves like that we are perfect and that we are the center of the world. Well, I have news. We are no longer in the center of the world, and we left behind us big messes. The colonization of Indochina, the colonization of the Middle East, Israel, Gaza, all this is part of the divisions that the Europeans we created in offices in the 19th century. We are responsible of many of these conflicts that still today they continue. The Europeans, we are the biggest donors of humanitarian aid. But what is the problem? That many times doesn't arrive. I'm sorry to say, but you need soldiers for that. There are many colleagues in the left. No weapons. No tanks, no planes. Excuse me. If you want to be taken serious in these parts of the world, you need military presence to support this humanitarian thing.
Having an army, sometimes it can be a double-edged sword. You can stab someone with a knife. And
I agree. Yes. As long as these armies belong to democratic countries, they will not be there to strike. They will be there to defend ourselves. Democracies, they don't have a tendency to attack.
Come on, United States, what they're doing.
That's another thing. I think that Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, should be first one to go there with our agenda for negotiations with the United States. So the Europeans, instead of being crying around, oh, Trump was elected, you go, and negotiate first.
I have a question that Elon Musk asked me, and I'm not sure if I know the answer. He asked me what far right means. Ladies and gentlemen, I will bring you the coolest members of the European Parliament in the future, and we have now one. Introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Antonio López-Istúriz. I come from Spain. I've been 20 years member of the European Parliament.
20 years, and the mandate is 5, guys, just to understand. How the hell did this happen?
Because I like what I do. That's what I'm telling also my daughters. You have to work, and it's an immense privilege to work in what you like. It's not always possible, but in what I'm doing the latest 20 years, I have been doing what I love to do. And that helps a lot also to maintain yourself with energy and with optimism.
And you've been important, and you are important in the parliament, as I understand, and also the 20 years of experience that you know everyone here, and you are in the
European Parliament. We all feel 700 that we are all important. Okay.
No, actually, I do feel. So, you are right. But explain, what you has been your for. You are in the EPP party, which is the right party.
Yes.
So,
I will call it, and we are very proud of that, the center right. Okay, because we have been, the EPP, the European People's Party, is like the center right of Europe. Has been the majority in the European elections. We have obtained majority since 1999.
Really?
This is the party. This is the
5 years. They are the biggest group. Wow,
yes.
Interesting.
Democratic vote of the European societies.
Yeah.
This is the party of the founders of the European Union, of Schuman, of Gasperi, of Monnet. They were all Christian Democrats. Okay, the origins of this party is Christian democracy, although nowadays it's just part of the legacy of the party. I'm a liberal. There are many conservative liberals, Christian Democrats in this party. It's very open, and whatever are the forces that we call ourselves center right, which distinguish ourselves from the right and from the left.
And what has been your positions in the past? Because I know you were kind of the leader of the party at some point.
I have been for many years Secretary General of the European People's Party, working daily to coordinate.
What does that mean? Because people don't really understand what you mean, Secretary General.
First, what is the European People's Party? I guess would be the first question. No, if you have a party in your country, I cannot say from. If you come from Germany, is the CDU. If you come from Cyprus, is Democratic Rally. If you come from France, would be the Républicain. In Spain, Partido Popular. You know, if you recognize what is the center-right party in your country, it's member of, most probably is member of the EPP. And this EPP is the network, is the party of parties here that represent at the level of the European Union. So being Secretary General of the EPP, I was Secretary General for 72 parties from 27 countries, because in many countries we have
72 parties inside the EPP.
Yes, and also we have...
let's explain. So people are elected in their countries and in different parties in their countries, and they come to European Union, and in your political group you had 72 parties and around 200 people, something like that. So
and they're all represented, because in many countries there are not one, but maybe 2 or 3 parties represented. For example, this is classical Italian example, where you always have no less than 3 parties, members in every group, due to this diversity, political diversity in Italy. In others, we only have 1 party. We have been defending this European project since the beginning. Not everybody can say that. When it was an economical approach, very humble, between Germany and France, you know, it was these two, Schuman, Monet, you know, that they got together at the end, you know, got Germany and France together. Countries that they had killed each other for centuries, that the hatred between their societies was outstanding. Politically, there have been many tries to unite Europe. Remember the past. The Roman Empire, Napoleon, Hitler. It was always by force, by political force also. All this failed. So these humble thinkers said, why not try a different approach? Let's do it through economics. Instead of politics, instead of invading, let's unite through economy. Oye, it works so well with the creation of this little market between Germany and France.
Because the incentives are aligned.
That now everybody is inside this. Now we are 27. Is this a real European Union? No, not yet. Me that I have defended, that I am defending this, I am perfectly, aware that still there is much to do and to evolve to become a real European Union. We have a good economical structure.
So it's not great again. It's not great yet.
No. Yeah. I don't know if I will see a real, for example, political European Union. I don't think I will see it.
But you want one.
You always tell me that I'm a little bit old. I'm 54, I feel quite young, But nevertheless, I don't know if I will see the end of this story, okay? But I hope that my daughters, they do.
Okay.
And that they will, and they will have benefits from this, okay? Today, why not? Because still, Phidias, if you are from Larnaca, are you going to vote for a candidate for the European Parliament from Sweden? No. Today, no. If you are from Huelva in Spain, are you going to vote for a candidate from Slovenia? No. We still don't know each other so well.
Traditions, language.
And we are beating, and hundreds of years of fighting each other, as I told you, hating each other. We have many, many prejudices in between us. So to beat all this, you need generational changes. So people like you, younger people, will see more advances in this, and finally there will be a real European Union.
That you think is good to happen? You think is good?
We are in
You
the good
want
way.
this?
We're in the good way. And I
So
feel
you want a European Union more like acting as one instead of just in countries just getting together?
I think that a European Union acting as one, but respecting the diversity, that is the ideal.
Okay, interesting.
When you take the decision, you have to respect also. Not in everybody in Cyprus think like the Germans. The Germans, they don't think like the Italians. It's very difficult to put together these mentalities.
different interests that they're fighting.
There's different
for.
interests.
For example,
and so
we
on.
have ocean. Some countries they don't have fish. They are not fishing, so it's different stuff that everyone is fighting. But I want to come back.
True, in Austria, for example, they don't care about the
What a
fisheries.
good
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you about your power in the EPP and what it means to be a Secretary General.
Wow.
What it was your work for people to understand? How do you manage a party?
Well, I used to say, I would say the joke, I mean, that I will always use that the presidents were always to say yes and the Secretary Generals to say no to our member parties. No, the task of a Secretary General is the daily management of the party and also the coordination between all these 72 parties, knowing what's going on in politics in your country in Cyprus, in my country in Spain, and putting all this together from my political family, okay? From my, although you also learn from others, what are the socialists doing? What are the liberals doing? You follow also events. So finally you become a little bit, let's say, an expert in politics all around Europe, no? Which is, I have to tell you, it's a privilege. Because then you beat all these prejudices and you learn, to
Knowledge
respect.
is power. Knowledge is
Also, I have to tell you, even the regional branches of the parties. I come from Spain, which is very interesting. We have different regions in Spain. And you know that we have had many problems in the past, even terrorist organizations that acted for this. The case of the Basque Country or Catalonia, that everybody knows about it and so on. Look, this is a little European Union. Spain is a single entity, it's a single state, but it has to respect, and I am the first one, that has to respect also the diversities inside Spain. Okay? That's why I believe in the European project, because I have the same example in my own country. I have been young enough to live after the dictatorship in my country, the democratic opening in the 70s, and then finally our system, regional system, which is one of the most, let's say, open in Europe, and the regions are very powerful in my country, and and the respect for the different languages, cultures, that there are in my country.
Okay, you have the same problem in your country that you need to represent as well here with different diversity, which is interesting. But let's get back to, okay, so you need to know what is happening in these 50 political groups that is in your political party and respect and set the agenda. But in the day-to-day work, tell us a bit more. People don't know.
For example, let's say we have a vote about abortion, which is a very tricky subject. Very
also
tricky.
in the United States has been very tricky.
There are many opinions in Europe, inside our countries, between families. It's very divisive topic. Well, how can you find a common ground in this? That is the task, to find common grounds for all these 72 parties
and
from different countries.
And how do you find?
With a lot of patience,
medicine, mushrooms,
whatever. I have been, I have whole meetings where I got everybody bored to death in order for finally to sign, keeping them in a room until 6 o'clock in the morning,
Until they agree, everyone.
Claro. What is the good thing about this? That so many regions, countries, so many interests, different cultures are represented there, that once you get the final decision, no one can go against. because everybody is there, The problem with this, and this is one of the accusations against the European Union, which I understand very well, is the question that we are not very quick, we are very slow in proceeding. But claro, you have to take into account everybody. For me, it's as important, the opinion of the Germans as the Cypriots. Okay?
But we can do it faster.
No. But for that, to put that together, okay, you need time, patience, but at the same time, I need the Cypriots also to be represented.
But sometimes the answer to the solution that you give, the problem disappear after 5 years that you come
or
up
no,
with
I mean, we are not.
It depends. I'm not saying, but
we are not perfect. I'm not a populist, okay? I don't have magical solutions, that this is going to end the problems tomorrow morning, okay? I'm not this kind of guy. I'm a very pragmatical, okay? Politician, that I have seen many things in my life. I have not lost my emotion or my energy for this European project. It's not perfect, it's not fantastic, but I think that is one of the best things that, holds us together and defends ourselves, for what's going on around us. Because we have around us people, dictatorships, authoritarian regimes, that they don't like us, and they want to attack us.
That we will talk about, because, ladies and gentlemen, his passion is foreign policy.
Yes.
So you are very passionate about this topic, and in general your actions in the parliament recently shows that you are in the AFET committee, you are traveling around the world for elections, observations, and all this stuff.
You had together with me a pragmatical example some weeks ago in Georgia.
Yes. This is where we met, and you became my teacher.
No, but we had a pragmatical example. Georgia is a country that their people, the majority of their people, they want to be in the European Union, okay? But Russia is interfering because Russia doesn't want this country to become part of the European Union. One could understand the Russians. They want to have their sphere of influence, okay? But I have news for you. Russia is not a democracy. It's a system, dictated by Putin, who is a dictator supported by oligarchs. It's not the ancient communist Soviet system. No. It's a question. It's a system.
So
where
you are saying this, and you assume 100% that the elections were in Russia was not legit.
Clearly, remember what happened with the leader of the opposition. Where is he? He died in Siberia. Because suddenly, he had a, he had a problem. He hit a stone and he fall. Come on, please.
I understand. I've been to Russia though, before.
Alexei Navalny. That I'm sure your listeners know very well.
I've been to Russia, and I was asking people. Not everyone hates Putin in Russia, and there is a lot of people that like him. Which maybe it was the elections. It was 80% that Putin was elected. Maybe it was a bit too much, but. Maybe close to 50%. I don't think that is crazy to say that they elected him. But you can say that it's not democracy. But
yes, what happens with the opposition in Russia? Is there any opposition? No. All the democratic opposition is right now or in exile or in prison. And the good excuse was the war in Ukraine. That's killing the same bird with two swords.
But I'm not against you. I'm just trying to play the devil advocate, so we have an interesting.
No, it's not against. So of course there are people that support Putin in Russia. Of course, I don't mean, but there is no democratic elections that could tell us. So it's the real temperature.
Through our conversation, because. What is the European Union? How does it have foreign policy? So it's interesting. I want for this, through our conversation about this, Georgia, Russia, war in Ukraine, Palestine,
Again.
I want to understand also how does the European Union operate in this foreign policy?
Again, we have the same problem. Still, we don't have a real foreign affairs policy. Okay? Right now, it's our member states that they decide in the council.
So that when the presidents get together, they decide our foreign policy of each country, 27 members.
Yes. It's a system where the European Union is growing in powers, okay? Member states try not to give too many powers to Brussels. It's like the creation of the United States between Washington and the states. They are always fighting for more powers, less, or the Landers with Berlin. It's always the same. In the European Union, in the democratic system, there is this balance and this fight. The government of Cyprus doesn't want to give foreign affairs policy concerning the conflict with Turkey, okay? Because they don't trust that maybe the Germans or the French are going to, they don't know how the Turkish operate, okay? Because you are suffering the situation in Cyprus, okay? So it's very hard for the Cypriot government to give up this. I understand very well. We need more generations to come, people trained also in Brussels to understand the specificity of this question of Cyprus. We are. My view is that we will end with a full international, unitarian policy in the European Union, but not now.
Okay, so what the fuck you are doing in foreign policy here in the European Union? If we are trying to
humbly trying to reconstruct this, although knowing that I will not see the end of this story.
Okay, so you are trying to influence to create a foreign policy, European.
For example, I am a politician that I am aware of the social, human, psychological consequences of what happened in Cyprus. Because I have had the opportunity to talk to politicians, to people in the streets. I have had many times in your country. I'm fully aware of the sensitivity of this. And the occupation that is going on in your country.
To explain to the people, in 1974 we had the Turkish invasion and that split the island in half. But before that we had a lot of fighting, civil war and all this stuff that led to the Turkish community and the Greek Cypriot community to be divided after the invasion.
So you have to explain to your viewers. Because I have grown in this ambience and I have had contact with the Cypriot reality, I know, okay? But we are 500 million, and not everybody has this opportunity that I have.
500 million, you mean?
Europeans. But they don't have the opportunity that I have to have contact with the reality of Cyprus. There are 47 million citizens in Spain that they don't know what's going on in Cyprus, okay? So my aspiration is that in many years, Spanish citizens will have solidarity and understanding of the situation in Cyprus, as well as the Cypriots understand what happens in my country.
With Catalonia and all this.
Claro. I'm humble in the approach. I'm telling you, I hope this is my dream.
But so you are trying to create this, to have a common foreign policy and help kind of it. But now you are working for a policy. What the foreign policy of EU is doing now? I'm confused.
We go back to the example of Georgia. What we are doing now is battling to have countries that are now between Russia and us, that we want, if they want to show that they want to belong to a democratic world, then, we have to help them. For example, Georgia, where you and I, we know. Moldavia. These are countries that are fighting. The majority of their population, they have shown this pro-European approach, that they want to become members of the European Union. Okay?
Because benefits.
Yeah. But, and again, the Russians are fighting, interfering, in the elections and so on, the way they do usually things, unfortunately, not in such a democratic way, using their intelligence services, to infiltrate. And Phidias is a nightmare. Because Democrats, what is the problem?
So our enemy is Russia, you mean
Democrats,
Europe.
Democrats, we fight with our hand tied to our back because we follow the rules. At least, or we try. But we try or we follow the rules. These kind of people, these kind of countries with these absolute regimes, they don't follow the rules.
But it's interesting. I want to get to the essence to the things. And so, for example, in Moldova, one of the, or we can talk in Georgia that we were, but in Moldova, one of the examples that the European Union gave is Russia was giving pension money to some old elders to help them get the pro-Russian. Is one party in Russia that was doing this, one oligarch. So, but also we, as the Europeans, were helping to build roads and to do projects in the Moldova to kind of also help them to become maybe more pro-European.
But it's different.
But the question is, where do you draw the line between?
We don't buy people. We help them to prosper.
Okay,
we want them to grow.
This is we need to draw the line. What is interference and what is influence?
Paying people. You know, for what? For a week, for 1 month, to pay for their boats. That's what they do. They pay for the boats. Us, what we do is construct infrastructure. We give them infrastructure. We help them, with the development of the country because we want this country to grow. Okay?
It's interesting.
Because countries that grow, countries that have good economic, going on, is very stable. They are very stable.
But, for example, in Moldova's situation, okay, we did our thing, Russia did our thing, and let the people decide, and they decided that they want to be in the European Union. I think very beautiful. I think this is, but for example, interference in this way or the other, let the countries help or give money or whatever, and the people will decide. So the people decided democratically. Do you disagree with this solution? That this theory that they have?
No, Fides, I will never disagree when there is a real democratic election with no interference. I will always accept, even if I don't like the result. I mean, my friend, I've been in opposition and in government in my country in Spain sometimes. When we lost the elections, I was not happy. But, I have to accept, people are right. Maybe we did something wrong. Maybe, we have to reflect. So that is the good thing about democracy.
The line that we are putting is you don't like paying people to buy votes.
No.
But doing projects is okay.
Yes.
So that's
helping for the development of that country.
Okay, that's interesting. So moving to the European Union for now doesn't have foreign policy, and you started describing what we're doing for foreign policy is basically convincing new countries to join the dream of the European Union. This is one of the stuff.
No. I would not go as to say we are there to convince anyone. Those who want to live in our bubble of democracy and liberties, imperfect. I'm not saying it's not perfect, okay? It's not the dream system, but it is the closest, but democratic, that's clear. The countries that we are inside the European Union, we are democratic. People select. You like it or not, okay? Countries that show an interest in this, that they want to join this, okay, we have to study the case. Why not?
Study the case and welcome them if they imply with our rules and regulations and the philosophy.
There were many years negotiations with Turkey, but unfortunately the people in Turkey, they started to vote for an option which is called Erdogan. And
what
then,
do you think is ever possible for them? Because that's a big foreign policy thing of the European Union. It will be the biggest country in population.
But
do you think it will be ever policy because it's different religion? Islam is what do you think about this?
But when there was a good, open democracy and so on, there was not so many problems. It was an interesting case. But what happens? They find the democratically elected Erdogan. And now we have been for decades now with Erdogan, that we all know very well how he works and his operations and so on,
Corrupted. Corrupted.
Whatever, now this has jeopardized this, okay? But if other country wants, and are doing big efforts to transform themselves to become members of this club, okay, that we have to be there for them. Why not?
Interesting. Okay, so this is kind of what your work in foreign policy, our work on foreign policy. Study the cases that the countries want to join the EU and see kind of the geographic, the strategic overall view on the long.
There is another case that worries me a lot. I have to talk about it later on in the plenary. Is the question of Africa. Another part that I'm very worried. in our foreign policy.
What do you worry about? What is this topic?
The Europeans, let's face it, our colonizational process were not good. Our decolonization process in many of these countries.
Good way to put it. Our colonization was not.
No, because Phidias, there are many. The Europeans, we feel ourselves like that we are perfect, and that we are the center of the world. Well, I have news: we are not longer in the center of the world, and we left behind us many big messes. The colonization of Indochina, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, the colonization of the Middle East, Israel, Gaza, Jordan, Egypt. I mean, excuse me, my friend. All this is part of the divisions that the Europeans we created in offices in the 19th century. We are responsible of many of these conflicts that still today they continue. I think that is our duty, and this is part of the foreign affairs work also, to help to, let's say, change this mess that we left behind us and help these countries to develop and end their crisis. In Africa specifically, I was in Mozambique. It's a country in the south next to South Africa. Mozambique is a classical example sometimes of European hypocrisy. We are trying to help for democracy and so on, but our companies, European companies, are exploiting the resources in the north of Mozambique. It's called Cabo Delgado, and our companies are not playing well. Because they have been financing also military organizations that they have done very doubtful things in Mozambique. You see, I'm denouncing that, and I have done it publicly. I think that Mozambique, needs, and we're talking about millions of people living there, needs from the Europeans a different approach. The approach of the European Union, not of our national interests, of our companies, but of the European Union. That we have to help them to develop themselves. That the money coming from the oil, gas, and natural resources that are Mozambique is very rich on them, that it goes to the population. That is our
for us not to exploit them.
Claro. Not for the
Claro
companies.
means yes, guys.
But also that the society in Mozambique receives the benefits of all this.
Yeah.
This is the European Union duty. But still, we are not a complete European Union. And the power is from the member states. And some member states, France, Italy, Germany, and some others, they have big interest, their companies, in Mozambique.
Interesting.
Okay? That's why I believe that the European approach would be much better, more just, and more to the benefit of the Mozambican people.
Foreign policy, we covered the stuff that you're doing in foreign policy, or is more than
there are many things. There are many other things going on, but okay, in principle, it's let's put it as simple as possible. Us Europeans, with the European flag, we are much more credible than with our national flags, because in many countries, in Africa, in the Middle East, our national flags, they remember about the past.
Yes.
They are not so trusted.
Yes.
But the European flag, it is trusted. It's a symbol of democracy, liberties,
That's interesting.
It's a very different approach.
That's interesting. Also in the United States, they trust more the European flag than individual flags as well.
Except Trump.
Let's talk about it. Now is good time. So Trump, foreign policy of Trump, what is happening to European Union? Trump is elected.
Look, democratically, the people of the United States have elected. Again, I have to accept.
You don't like it?
No. Trump has been 4 years president of the United States. All the media in Europe was saying, that this was the end of the world, that the world was going to disappear, that Trump was going to declare war, and he was the president that had the least wars since 30 years ago. Ironically. And he was even the one creating, supporting the Abraham Agreement, where for the very first time Arab countries recognize Israel. This was historical. Okay, you can argue about the manners, the way of talking, but okay, I don't think that the wall is going to disappear. I think that Trump, he is a businessman. Thank you, Fidias.
Thank you.
Trump is a businessman, and maybe what we have to do is, talk the same language. I think that Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, should be first thing in January, after Trump becomes full president, after the oath, taking the oath with the United States Constitution. First one to go there with our agenda for negotiations with the United States, before he says anything. In good business, you always hit first. So the Europeans, instead of being crying around, oh, Trump was elected, you go, and negotiate first and put our conditions first, okay? That's the way to do it. If he's a businessman, you will have to do it this way.
So looking back to his 4 years, did you notice anything that we will see now and what to expect in the next 4 years, 5 years as the European Union?
I don't think, look,
with tariffs and all these things that he's...
Elections, not only Trump, but we are used to that.
Also is my friend.
We all politicians, we are guilty that during the elections we say many things that later on... sometimes they don't happen, okay? I don't think that Trump is going to solve the Ukrainian-Russian war in 48 hours, okay? I don't think so, okay?
It was kind of, he didn't mean it. It was, I think, him, but anyway.
Okay, electoral rhetoric, my friend, in the United States, in Cyprus, in Spain, in I don't know where, we all get too much overexcited in our declarations, guilty as charged like everybody else. I don't exclude that, okay? And then comes, the difficulty of governing a country. And this is the distinction between me and a populist, okay? I go into elections knowing that if I take the government of my country, I will have to govern in the best way for the interest of the people. Doesn't mean that I'm right. Okay? And if I'm not right, I will be voted against in the next election. Doesn't mean that, But at least you try to do the best government. Knowing that you are not going to get solutions, as I said, in 24 hours. No. That's what the distinction maybe with Trump. There are no 24-hour solutions. It's a lot of, diplomatic work, hard work. And there are many, many people that are working as we speak, usually, good diplomats, good politicians, that they don't have too much camera, behind them, that are working overnight to, let's say, maintain some coordination between all our democratic countries, facing all the challenges that we have these days. And this system all works. Again, it's not perfect. I think that the economical crisis in 2009 brought, many questions from the societies, justified questions.
In the U.S., you mean?
No, I mean Europe. I mean Europe also. Because I'm not blaming people who are voting now for populist, parties in Europe, extreme right or extreme left. I don't blame them. What we have to do is to work to regain their trust. Okay? That's my task. I'm a traditional politician that my traditional politics has lost attraction from many people, specifically young people. Okay, this is something that we have to reflect and to change.
I have a question that Elon Musk asked me, and I'm not sure if I know the answer. He asked me...
You know Elon Musk?
What...
he's going to be important, so...
What far-right means in Europe.
And
how do you answer that?
What did he say?
He asked, what far-right means in Europe?
There are so many far-rights, so different,
I mean the European Union, the Parliament. And how do you define far-right?
I mean, I don't know. because, we have now like 3 groups that could be cataloged like some kind of far-right, ECR, Patriots, and the Sovereignists, in the European Parliament. Who is more far-right, less? I don't know, my friend. Is it the Fidesz of Orban? Is the AfD from Germany more than the other? Vox from my country, Spain? I don't know. It's very difficult to catalog. It's very too difficult. I think that these parties, which they are, let's say, not in the center, they are in the extremes, okay? They are a result of the failures of the system. People became dissatisfied and tried to find new answers, okay? These parties try to respond to this, but the problem is that their programs are not made to govern. It's always to be in opposition, because they love to criticize. They spend all the time, criticizing. And if you see, finally, when they arrive into government, usually they last very short time, and they're kicked out, because kind of people were expecting solutions quickly. So when they cannot provide, they are going to. It's a question in my country, Podemos. It's a far left, party. Very popular after the economical crisis. There was a lot of strain in the Spanish society. And it was very difficult for many families to go in the day-to-day. So people, many people, specifically also young people, voted for this party, and they had tremendous success. Where are they now? Nowhere. Because they arrived in the government in Spain and they were such a disaster that people unfortunately discovered that there are no solutions, easy solutions to these problems. Okay, that you have to work hard, that you have to work with your best intentions, that knowing that you are not perfect, that it doesn't mean that your solution is the right one, but at least that you have the majority behind you. Okay, that's the equation. Huh?
Okay, so Israel.
And if you don't have the majority, you will be kicked out in the next elections. That's it.
Israel, Palestine.
Yes.
Very difficult topic. A lot of people are being killed right now. What is the European Union foreign policy on that?
Have you read the Old Testament from the Bible? Okay. In the Old Testament,
I know a lot of stuff about it.
So you might remember the stories about the Philistines, the Canaanians fighting the Judeans, the Israelis,
yes.
The others. That was 3,000 years before Christ. Still today we have the same story in that piece of the world. They are fighting. It's incredible, this story. It's fascinating because there is nothing there. There's no water, there is no oil, there is nothing, and for thousands of years has been the center of fights that had involved the whole world. Most of them because of religious questions, okay? Because, you like it or not, the Holy Land is the Holy Land for 3 of the principal monotheistic religions. Voila, there you are. Millions of believers, from Christians, Muslims, and Jewish, believe that they have the right to that piece of land. So, this is not a problem that will be solved tomorrow morning.
Seems like...
No. The Europeans, again, in the 20th century, we left behind a mess between the French and the British, that they started to divide the whole area with pencils, and they started to create new states, Transjordany, Iraq, out of nowhere, without respecting what there was there. Okay, we have inherited this now. What is the duty of us Europeans? To try to help to solve this. I do recognize in this puzzle the state of Israel right to exist. That some countries like Iran and others, they do not accept. They want to erase Israeli and Jewish from the face of the world. Me, as a Christian, as a center-right politician in Europe, I do defend the right of Israel for existence, but also with a solution and respect for the Palestinian people.
So a two-state solution.
Two-state solutions has always been, and I have always defended. I'm very well respected, and in Israel, they consider me a friend, but they know I have always defended the two-state solutions. I think it's the best way, to put an end, not to the problem, okay, but at least to solve the situation for thousands of people in the Israeli and specifically also in the Palestinian side that are suffering always.
What is our
these wars, like the one we are having now, they have been happening for decades. Every 5 years there is something like this.
But now is so many people. Now is more than I think past the decades. So what is the European role in this with Israel? Are we funding?
Right now,
are we funding?
Right now, the problem is that we don't have any role at all. I would like the European Union to have a better role and a most active role there, but we don't have it.
So we probably have a humanitarian role. Like what is our role?
Yeah, but the problem, Phidias, is that humanitarian. If you don't have boots on the ground, soldiers that defend, that the humanitarian support arrives to the right people, and this doesn't happen also in Palestine. It happens in Africa. The Europeans, we are the biggest donors of humanitarian aid, but what is the problem? That many times doesn't arrive to the people.
Wow. Okay.
Because
so we have a lot of situations.
Because we don't have. I'm sorry to say, but you need soldiers for that. You need soldiers to defend that humanitarian aid. Okay, to make it arrive to the people that they are suffering. That's what the Americans they have. That's what the Russians they have. Us, we don't have it. So that's what we have to change also. Is European defense. It's not only about our defense. It's also to create, for example, quick action forces. Small groups of battalions of European, coming from different European armies that they act together, in order to support and to defend that all this humanitarian aid, that Europe is, again, I want to insist, is the largest donor in the world for all our areas of conflict. But we need that to be seriously managed. That's the question. So, and for that, I'm sorry, there are many colleagues in the left. No weapons, no tanks, no planes. Excuse me. You want to be serious, you want to be taken serious in these parts of the world, you need military presence to support, this humanitarian thing.
So you are saying common defense in the European Union is a necessary thing for us to be taken seriously?
Because during decades we have not paid for our defense. It was the Americans. We were living under the umbrella. Happy occasion. We could create this European Union, our welfare system. We could invest in social, and everything. But now comes reality. United States says, people, it's over. We are not going to pay for your defense. So you have to pay now.
And you think it's their right to say that?
Well, Phidias, if you tell me, I would rather prefer in the old system.
For them to pay for us.
I would prefer, But situation today in the world is like it is. The United States have different interests. Now is no longer even a war with Russia like the Cold War. It's China. So the United States, they are turning their interest and their power in their struggle with China. Yeah. And us, we are left there, in the middle, with Russia attacking Ukraine. So we have to start to think about European defense. This does mean creating a European army. Wait, let's go step by step.
Tell us the steps and what are we looking?
First of all, we have a European army already. It's the Ukrainian army who's fighting for a European ideal, for our liberties in the north of Europe. Let's support them. Let's help them. And start to train our troops, like we have to do with European citizens, to start to understand each other. That you need also Cypriot soldiers with Spanish soldiers to German soldiers to act all together. in order to start to,
and share the technology of the weapons, share
their knowledge, and everything. And with that, you will create in the future,
slowly.
and in the future, you will have soldiers from Lithuania that they will take orders from a Cypriot, and soldiers from Germany taking orders from an Italian, and they will not complain. They will accept, and it will be a full European army.
That sometimes having an army, sometimes it can be a double-edged sword that can stop you. You can stab someone with a knife, and
I
also
agree.
you can eat an apple. So
it's a temptation.
With the wrong governments, you can make mistakes with an army. But now we are kind of naive also. They are
Yes, as long as these armies belong to democratic countries and to a democratic European Union, they will not be there to strike. They will be there to defend ourselves. Democracies, they don't have a tendency to attack. They don't have.
But come on, United States, what they're doing.
That's another thing. Well, the United States, Phidias, the United States, remember, was in a struggle during the Cold War against the Soviet system, okay? We have to analyze in that time. After the Second World War, the war was between the Soviet, not Russia, the Soviet Union, communist regime against the capitalist democratic part of the world, which was represented by the United States. And there were many things going on that we could accept or not, okay? But let's say, the first strike was always coming from the communist side. Korea, Vietnam, first strike was coming always from the communist side. Hungary, the uprising that was crushed by the Soviets. Cuba, the missiles that the Russians put in the island. It was not the United States who started this. It's not that I want to say that the United States are perfect, okay? It's like the European Union. I'm telling you, but they are not usually the ones starting. Democracies.
Usually, okay.
Usually. I'm sure we could find some exception, but usually it's dictatorships and regimes that they start these kind of things.
Okay, so I'm curious to hear you've been 20 years here, you have another 5 years. What keeps you excited here?
Well, you have so many things.
What development still stuff to do here?
I'm watching with interest now developments in Asia. I've been recently there. Fascinating what's going on there. Developing countries, India, to watch carefully. They're growing incredibly.
Yeah. Also, the population there is crazy.
I have to tell you, China, that is considered the big, thing and so on. I think that China is not going so well. Economy is not so growing like in the past. Population is descending. So China, we could see that, maybe it's not the thing that we expected, but there are but Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, there are countries there that, they're developing so fast and growing so fast. Asia is growing a lot.
Yeah.
And Europeans, we are not so well connected there.
Yes. India, I find it also very interesting country, very interesting. But, so, what do you think about what we did today? You had fun? You had fun in what we did today? Yes. And because it's out of this seriousness of the, interviews that professional journalists do to professional politicians, no? And it's a good opportunity also to express a little bit, my sentiments about what I'm doing. And you're right.
Again, I have to tell you, with a humble approach. I don't say that I'm right, but I'm defending what I do. I think is the best thing for the society. I could be wrong, I could be right, but I'm defending that. No.
Thank you. I love you. And we always ask the last question to everyone is coming to the podcast, that you are going to die. in 30 seconds.
Why?
What do you want your last words to be in the planet if you are going to actually die? What do you want to say? If you, let's say in 30 seconds you will die.
I don't need the
or to your family or to anyone.
I don't need the planet to say anything. I just want to die with my daughters looking to me, thinking that, you know, I was useful and I contributed to something. That is my only.
So your daughters will listen to this.
Yeah. I hope so.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you guys for listening. We love you.